A couple weeks ago, I went through what many would deem a nightmare. I went an entire week with no cell phone. Though it wasn't necessarily by choice, I did learn some important lessons that I think you'll find helpful. But first, if you don't know me, I'm Laura from Practical Productivity, and I help busy moms create consistent routines and systems for home and family life. All right, so let's dive into today's episode. Okay, so first, the quick backstory. 2 days before Christmas last year, I set my phone down in the kitchen where I've set it down so many times, but this time it got knocked on the floor. And though I've dropped my phone, I don't know how many times, this was the time where it completely broke. The screen was useless and I couldn't use it at all. So I submitted a claim. Thankfully, I had the device protection. And since they were sending me a new one, but since it was the holidays, it didn't even ship for several days. Okay, so now let's start with the lessons I learned from that week. Number one was with no phone came a slower pace of life. For some reason, without the constant influx of information, I felt way less rush and just kind of more peaceful. And the slower pace was a really nice change. It was kind of surprising, but it was definitely appreciated, especially through that holiday week. So, with slowing down, I also felt less stressed. So, that rushing can frequently increase the stress levels and all that information that you have access to 24/7 in your hand. Turns out it was actually adding to some stress levels. So, I appreciated that that was decreased throughout that week as well. Number three, with no phone, I was not feeling information overload. So even though I was still using my computer pretty frequently, it was a lot more intentional. Instead of just tapping an app, you have to intentionally go to a website to get it from the computer. So it's definitely different and not as quick and hurried of the information than I would get from scrolling social media or seeing news and current events one after another when you're scrolling through on your phone. It's a lot easier to just keep swiping on the phone than it is to scroll on the computer. So I feel like the information consumption that week was much more intentional. Right. Okay, so those first three lessons definitely added up to the fourth one I'm going to share, which is no less phone equaled more focus. So without having that distraction, and we all know that our phones can be pretty distracting, but without having that handy, I could definitely focus more. And despite it being a holiday slower week, I actually got quite a bit done as well. And also, without the distraction, number five, I felt like I was much more present. It was a really sweet Christmas with my kids. It was the first Christmas for our youngest. So just being able to soak up those moments was really sweet. And finally, at number six, it was the most surprising lesson from my week with no phone was I felt so much more creative. I was able to come up with all sorts of content ideas and other ideas in general that added creativity was surprising, but really nice to experience as well. Right. So though that week was nice with those lessons, there were definitely things I missed without having a phone. And number one, of course, was communication. So I couldn't easily reach people I knew with a quick text. So I had to either use my husband's cell phone or use my computer to send an email or instant message. So it definitely slowed down the lines of communication and made that a lot more difficult. Number two, I missed my camera. I like to take pictures of my cute kids. So I was, with the holidays, I wanted to take pictures and I couldn't. I had to keep using my husband's phone for that, which thankfully I still got some sweet ones. And our 3-month-old had just started smiling too. And I was like, oh, I want to capture this, but without a phone handy, it was kind of hard. Back in the day, we'd had, the little digital cameras we carried around, but now they are just integrated into our phone. So that was the second thing I missed. And number three was my reading apps. I frequently use my phone to read through the Kindle app. I have some books on Google Play Books, and I also have library apps where I can borrow stuff on my phone. So I could get those apps on my computer, but it's just not quite the same. My Kindle Paperwhite I hadn't used in a while, and I didn't have time to track that down either. So I didn't get a lot of reading done that week, and I definitely missed that as well. All right. So with the lessons and things I've missed, now here are a few things I'm doing moving forward. So while I am definitely glad to have my phone back, I am setting some limits going forward. I deleted some apps off my phone that I decided just was not worth my time anymore. And I'm setting other limits going forward. I added little, it's a setting in there where it would pop up the notification after I had been on an app, like after so many minutes, so that it kind of gives you a little warning, like just, hey, been on this app for 10, 15 minutes, whatever. So that has been nice. I could catch myself, oh, I don't want to be spending that much time on here. So I would close that down and do something else. We're also setting some screen free hours in our home in the morning and afternoon to help everyone do a bit of screen detox and have a healthy relationship with screens. So, though times throughout that week were frustrating, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I can take those lessons and observations from that week and move forward in a little bit more healthy way with screens. So, let me know, have you ever done a screen detox? How did it go? Whether it was intentional or not. All right, guys, that is all for today, and I will see you next time.